Reform Party have held a press conference today. It's on the Telegraph page on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's been on GB News. I'm not sure if it'll be covered by the other outfits. The big news of the press conference was the fact that Andrea Jenkins, Dame Andrea Jenkins, a former Tory MP, a really good MP, decent, Brexiteer, she was liked in a constituency, but sadly went down with the ship in the last election because she wouldn't jump ship and betray the Tories. Now, since Dama's took the helm, she realises that if she's going to stick true to her own values, there's only really one party she can join, and that's Reform. They're not perfect. They know they're not perfect, but they are the only dog in the game. Because the other parties are just one party leading us down the same route, and if they were serious about conservatism, you'd be looking at Robert Jenrick today as the leader of the Tory party, not Kevin Badenoch, who, whilst her sound bites in Prime Minister's Question Time might sound authoritative because she's got that kind of voice, she really isn't a Tory or a conservative, small c conservative at all. She's more of a Lib Dem. She's not committed in any way, shape or form, in my opinion. So after witnessing Andrea cross the floor, I'm friends with her on a personal level on Facebook. I've congratulated her for what I think is the right decision, and she's going to stand as the mayoral candidate in Lincolnshire. That's good news because she's got deep-rooted connections there from her past. So she knows a lot about the towns within Lincolnshire, and she's a Yorkshire lass. You can't go wrong really, can you? I think for Nigel Farage to encourage Andrea Jenkins, she's always respected him, to come across to Reform is brilliant news. Now, this is where you've got to weigh things up for yourself. On the same day, Ben Habib's made an announcement that he's leaving Reform, and I don't know what he's going to do, but he's not with Reform because of the issues that he's laid out. But I personally think he's been too pedantic about Reform, because I've been doing this as Ben has, as Nigel Farage has. Nigel Farage is the longest one in the game, let me assure you, 30 years of abuse. It takes some bottle to continue. I don't really understand what Ben hopes to achieve, because this is how I see it. We are going down the tubes double fast in this country. We are down the helter-skelter and we haven't even been given a map. And that's because Labour's taken over. No good thinking the Tories will save you. They're finished. They're not conservative. If they were, I would be spouting and preaching for them. But they're not. They've had all the chances in the world. And we've had 3 times now where we could have had an opportunity to have a Brexiteer Prime Minister. And every time they tried to push a Remainer, like they did with Theresa May, the members voted for Andrea Jenkins. What did they get? Theresa May, because they fiddled it around. They placed them like chess pieces, despite the fact it's looking like members choose them. No, they don't. Liz Truss, what happened to her? She got unseated and she'd actually made it into number 10. She sat with a cat on her knee and they still got rid of her. So you cannot trust the Tories. And Kemi Badenoch has not made anything that sounds remotely Tory to me. She even had the audacity, after what happened in Southport, to turn round and say we can trust the British justice system. If the public thought that, we wouldn't have the outcry that we had with Southport. They're aware of the fact not only can we not trust the police, not trust the government, we can't trust the justice system. There's no evidence of it being trustworthy. And that's my opinion and millions of other people. So we need better convincing than that. And Kemi Badenoch is not the one for me. So time is of the essence. So if I was looking at this as a going concern, as a business, and I wanted an outcome for my business, I would think to myself, Reform at this moment in time is the only game in town. How it's structured, whether it's a company or it's a democratic membership party, I couldn't give a monkey's about. All I'm bothered about is, do we have some strong characters that can make some changes? And hanging on to one-off comments that, like Richard Tice have made about that lot, meaning us lot, that, you know, people that went to the march, hanging on to those one comments will do you. It's self-harm. It's as simple as that. You are self-harming yourself because the one vehicle we've been given, we've got an escape route. We've got the getaway vehicle. And Nigel Farage has the keys. Anybody else, you're walking away from freedom. You're walking away to freedom. There isn't the time to set up yet another party that will just fracture what we've built up. And I say we as a non-member of the Reform Party. I'm talking about people who believed in Brexit, people who believed in this country having its own sovereignty, being able to decide its own fate and its own future. Andrea Jenkins is living proof that enough is enough. And this business of questioning why Nigel is basically crowing about attracting Tories, he should crow about it, because this is the Tory party is the oldest surviving political party in the world. And it takes a lot of psychic analysis, I'm going to call it, a psych evaluation to work out that, hang on, is this really happening? Is this party really in the doldrums so much that it's toast? Yes, it is. But when you're part of that big machine, it's very hard to persuade people to go to something as new and fledgling as Reform, because there'll be loads of things that it's not capable of doing right now because of its newness. But they're trying to sort that out. They've brought in a chap that's injected some money and he's injected some protocols from his business life that will work. They've got 400 branches now. They had none a few weeks ago, and they were up against it because they're a new party. And there's basically mopping up a lot of council seats. So I see this, whether I'm right or I'm wrong, I see this as the only vehicle in town where we can have an opportunity to create some change. It's no good looking at movements, pledges, demonstrations. They don't change anything. There's only one place on this planet where this country can effect its own change, and that's within the legislature, which is Parliament. So what we want more Tories to have the confidence to do what. I mean, if I was generic, I'd be across the floor in an instant, because they've made him look a fool. He's tried to say the right things, and where's it got him? We might have enjoyed hearing it, but where's it got him? They've given us Kemi Badenoch, or they voted allegedly for Kemi Badenoch, who is not the sort of person. She's young. She's too young to me to be the leader, because if you're a leader of the opposition, you're eventually going to be the Prime Minister. There's not enough wool on your back. I want an older person who's seen a bit of life, brought kids up, had a divorce, bought a house, had employment in the real world. I want someone who knows what life's about. You've got a lad at 26 who's living at home with his mother in Selby as an MP. What the hell does he know about life? It's no good just passing exams on paper. Oh, I've studied politics at university. I don't care. And I'm sure you don't care what they've studied at university, because there's probably more sense coming out your window cleaner's mouth. There's more sense coming out of mine. My window cleaner knows exactly what's going on. So I look today as yet another leap forward for Reform. And anything other than Reform is just splitting the vote. And the smaller parties that have existed longer, I feel desperately sorry for their leaders not having the initiative to dump the ego and get on board with. If you want change, get on board with something that can offer it. I'm not saying they're perfect. I don't even like political parties. I don't believe in them. But at least with Reform, they believe in changing the system. They believe in not having the first past the post. They believe in proportional representation and moving forward for a way of voting that is more realistic. And this is why we need Reform. This isn't me. This was in the Express. This is their headline, how did the Lib Dems get 67 more seats than the Reform Party despite having 590,000 fewer votes? How did that happen? How did it happen a few years ago in the election where the UKIP got 4 million votes when Nigel Farage was at the head and 1 seat, and the SNP, the Scottish National Party, got 54 seats for 4 million votes? We've got to get change. Now, if you can back a party that supports that change, which Reform Party do, and they support direct democracy, which is where a referendum is held on big stuff. Maybe there could be 4 or 5 a year. HS2, spending on migration. There's so many things that the public should... this race to zero. There's so many things the public should be invited to comment on, and that can only work with an honest media. So if you get an honest party at the forefront, you've more chance of creating an honest media. Media is the biggest problem of all. So I think today's another leap forward for reform, and this is why I support. I want change. I'm too bloody old to hang around for somebody else getting forward, and I don't agree with UKIP's ethos. How can I sit here and preach about body autonomy and people getting sacked, being forced into medication, and support them because I don't believe anything should go in your body that you don't have permission to put there? How can I believe in that and then support a party that is anti-abortion when people, children end up pregnant through rape and incest and other vile atrocities? So that's it for me. I can't support that at all. Not when I've actually worked with an outreach service for an abuse charity and seen it firsthand what it does to people physically and mentally, especially underage kids. So I don't want to discuss abortion per se. I want to show you why I think what I think. After years and years of putting a lot of effort in for free, for not, just looking at what's going wrong and thinking, how can we put it right? And like the rest of us, I feel like I've been thrown off the Titanic and I've been wandering around in the cold sea with my life jacket on, wondering if I'm going to survive. And all of a sudden, Nigel Farage comes across with a lifeboat. What do? Do you jump on the lifeboat? Do you stay in the water? I know where I am.